Hello everyone, welcome back to Expat Life Korea. This is Matt, and this is going to be an episode about biking in Korea. I bike a lot here, and right now my bike is currently not available because I'm at Yeouido. In Seoul there's these things called the daringi. It's basically a rental bike service that runs through a phone app. You basically just pay the equivalent to $1 per hour. Within an hour, if you return the bike, you can rent it out for another hour for free of charge as long as it's within a 24-hour period. Kind of confusing, but hopefully that makes a little bit more sense, and let's get started. Biking is one of the main ways that I get around in Korea, and it's pretty good, but there are some differences between Korea and Canada, for sure. The main difference that I would say is just the general laws around biking. So in Canada, you have to wear a helmet everywhere you go. There's just a lot more rules in general. And in Korea, you're kind of more free to just kind of bike wherever you want, like on the sidewalk or the road. And in general, it's pretty free. So that's one of the awesome parts about it. You'll get a lot of people just kind of like, even though there's a bike lane, cars might park there or people might walk there, and they might not necessarily get out of your way. So you got to be ready to kind of swerve out of people's way, and you can never go in a straight line usually. The infrastructure for biking is not perfect. In Yeouido, it's pretty good on this island. It's the financial district of Seoul, so the bike lanes are actually quite developed here. These sidewalks are a lot more open, and there's more space for bikes. But most parts of Seoul aren't like that, so that's just something to keep in mind if you want to commute as a biker. There's a lot more obstacles to deal with. Yeah, the cool thing about this ride today is we're actually going to be going through a variety of areas. So right now we're starting in kind of a modern, like, well-developed area, and we're going to be going through one of the industrial, like, poor areas as well. So you'll be able to see the contrast. At like crossings like this, you have to be very careful and make sure that they can actually see you. They have time to stop and slow down, because in general, drivers are a lot less reactive here. They're a lot more aggressive. So they're gonna do something if they can get away with it. Like go through a red light or go through a crosswalk without stopping. It's a good idea to play very passive. Don't expect cars to stop for you. Just kind of keep your eyes open for what's coming up to you. Yeah, so this is Yeongdeungpo. Yeah, I guess in general, if you're into shopping and stuff, it's okay to visit. It's like there's some decent shops there, but it's kind of not super close to the other attractions in Seoul. So unless you're staying near this area, then I wouldn't strongly recommend it, to be honest. This area, as you can see, is quite bumpy. Normally in Canada, I'd probably be riding on the road, but here, the way that cars drive, I prefer not to ride on the road unless I'm wearing a helmet and I'm on a better bike. Korea does also have a lot of bike paths, and many people, including myself, prefer to ride only on the bike paths and not on the sidewalks like this. But sometimes it just takes, like if I were to ride on the bike path along the Han River down Dorimcheon, I'll put the map on the screen just so you can see the difference between this route and the bike path, but I save about half an hour by going this way, so it's definitely worth it. I have to focus a lot more if I ride like this, but it's a lot shorter in the end. We are now getting into one of the shadier areas of Seoul, actually. I've seen some brothels around here. This is kind of one of the areas where you see homeless people. That's kind of interesting to see if it's something you're not used to. In this area especially, It is pretty old. I don't think they've redone these sidewalks in years, like maybe even up to 20 years, I'm not too sure. But you can certainly tell when you're riding. You get a lot of random bumps. Sometimes I've been on like longer bike rides, and I've like gone into a hole which almost caused me to like crash into the middle of the road and get hit by a car. Those are just the things that you have to deal with. In certain areas, it's so futuristic, so modern, and I'm going to be showcasing those areas as well. To contrast it, like Seoul is such an old city. Like some neighborhoods look like third world countries, and some of them look brand spanking new, like super fancy. We are actually almost at the end of Yeongdeungpo now. We're going close to an area called Sindorim. It's one of the bigger like subway transfer stations. So you can take like the high-speed railway there. You can take the subway lines 1 and 2, which the line number 1 is, I think it's the longest subway line in Korea. It goes from like 2 hours south of Seoul to like an hour north of Seoul. So I believe if you stay on it the entire time, you can be on the same subway for like almost 3 hours. We're almost out of this area into the nicer area now. And you can see as soon as we're in the newer area, we got a bike path for like the 30 meters that we're actually going to be on it. So yeah, this is Sindorim. This is a newer area. I'm not sure when it developed, but if you compare it to the surroundings, you can see a lot of the buildings are they're newer, they're made of glass and not just big bricks of cement. When it comes to these rental bikes, there's one problem if you're in the tall category. If you're above 170 centimeters, 175 centimeters maybe, then just things in general, even though like Korean people aren't necessarily short, a lot of the things here just aren't really meant for taller people. So you probably can't tell, I'll try and point the camera down. You can see my knees are going pretty high, and this is the highest that the seat goes. So despite having the convenience of having these cheap rental bikes to just allow you to go wherever you want for cheaper than the subway, there are some downsides as well. As we've seen in this video, the developed areas have nicer bike paths and stuff like that. So in the future, you can see Korea is going to focus a lot more on things like bicycle transport to make it more convenient for people like me who bike a lot. Just want to say thanks again. If you're interested in this kind of content, you can ask me in the comments and I'll probably make videos about them. If you guys like this sort of thing, just I guess throw me a like or subscribe. Everyone says that, but I plan to do this as a living someday. So I think I gotta kind of get into that mindset of being more marketable and trying to get myself out there and kind of being active with the community and share my passion for cultures and especially Korea with the world. So thanks again for watching this video, and take care, guys. Peace.